Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Think Suburbia, the podcast of the Suburban Virginia Republican Coalition, the SUVGOP. I'm Mike Ginsburg. I am one of the co-founders of SUVGOP and one of the hosts of the podcast.
Hi, I'm Jill Cook. I'm another one of the SUVGOP founders and the co-host of the podcast. And as many of you may have heard, Delegate Jennifer Carroll Foy, a Democrat who represents the 2nd District in the House of Delegates here in Virginia, has resigned her seat and she's going to run for governor. So the special election on January 5th is to fill the seat, and we are very, very lucky to be joined by our candidate for that seat, Heather Mitchell, the Republican. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, we're very excited, and we know this is a really short time frame with the election coming up January 5th. That's a very a short campaign season. So I guess there are good things and bad things about that. But anyway, tell us a little bit first about the 2nd District.
When you think about the 2nd House District, it's actually a condensed version of the entire Commonwealth. The northern half of the district is in Prince William County. It starts off at the bridge up at Belmont Bay, and it's everything east of Route 1 going south. When you go down, when you get to the city of Dumfries, it actually kind of jumps over the city, picks back up at Quantico, and then it goes down into Stafford. It covers part of Griffiths Widewater. It encompasses all of the Rock Hill district, parts of the Garrisonville district, and then a tiny little sliver of Hartwood.
Wow, that's a pretty extremely diverse district.
It is. So when you look at what happens up in the Prince William part, it's something that you would think about as something more of up in Fairfax, up in Arlington, Alexandria. And then as you go further south, the way it kind of comes down, it kind of goes to the west because the district butts up against Fauquier County. And so it's very rural out there. You've got windy country roads. So the needs that you have down in the Ruby is completely different than what you would need in Ripon up in Prince William. So it's very important that whoever represents this district knows the district.
That's a very challenging thing in front of you. But you did run for the seat in 2019. So you have a little bit of experience.
Right.
What made you decide to do it again?
My motivating factor was that our delegate, who was, duly elected in 2019, I wouldn't say that she resigned or stepped down. She abandoned us in the midst of a pandemic to run for a higher office. She can't raise money while she's in session. So she, her answer of, well, I'm running to or stepping down to concentrate on the governor's race. She's stepping down so she can raise money. She just kind of left all of us in the lurch.
Right. And, it is a challenge for us, but it's also in some ways for the Republican Party, it's an opportunity because the Democratic Party they last year or, 2019 was really, or rather 2020, this year, was really the first time that the Democrats have had full control down in Richmond.
Right.
And, they did a lot of things, I think, as Republican, probably, were not great for anybody in Virginia, but particularly citizens of the 2nd District with the electricity tax, VCEA, the gun control push that they made and the push that they're looking to do now with the Transportation Climate Initiative to, add a carbon tax on top of the electricity tax. Tell us, I guess, what your thoughts are on what the Democrats have really done and what you would do, what kind of issues you would prioritize if you're elected.
One of the first things that I would like to do is we need to come up with a comprehensive plan on getting our kids back into school. My son is a senior in high school, and my kitchen table has been turned into a classroom. Anytime we go to sit down for dinner, we've got to move the computer, we've got to move the books. There, especially now with the vaccine coming out, uh, the line of communication from Richmond down to the localities has not, in my personal opinion, been very effective. When is my area going to get the vaccine? Who's going to get it? Who will be distributing it? There's so many things that need to be taken care of. And what has happened, in my view, is the Democrat-led the majority down in Richmond seems to be using COVID as a smokescreen to push through a lot of very radical, very liberal ideas. There's a example up in Prince William County back in June. One of the Democrat supervisors up in Woodbridge made up a task force to liaison with the school board as to how to be unbiased. And a couple of weeks ago, 3 of the Republican supervisors walked out of a joint school board meeting. They walked in, they thought they were sitting down to discuss, education, the schools, getting kids back into the classrooms. And the presentation they were supposed to watch was how to be unbiased.
I mean, it sounds like the priorities,
Pretty screwy.
Sort of a basic priority, their priorities are out of order, getting kids educated. I mean, I have kids at home too, and it's very difficult to learn at home. And if you're not prioritizing getting kids back in the classroom, everything else is sort of window dressing. I mean, if they're not in school, everything else is, it's clearly not as important.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're hearing from folks who are, I mean, I know you're campaigning. Is that something you're hearing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my neighborhood, for a while, it used to be the older kids in high school, but they've graduated, moved on. Some of those families have moved, but we've had a big influx of younger families coming in and trying to juggle daycare. Can't get my child into daycare. I have to stay home. I have to stay home from work because my child is learning from home now. They're learning virtually. So it is not only is it affecting children and their parents I guess you could say like in an emotional way, but fiscally. There are a lot of families that have, one parent's had to decide who's going to stay home. And it seems to me that the Democrats, they're more concerned about their social agendas. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that need to be reformed, but not right now, not until we get the kids back into school and we can, get the small businesses back open. My favorite coffee shop keeps having to, shut down because there's so many different restrictions. And then, oh no, you can, have this. Other businesses, like my oldest daughter, she is not a personal trainer, but she does like group classes, and they were slowly able to start working up to larger classes, following all of, the cleaning protocols and making sure all of the equipment was, thoroughly cleaned after each use. But now they're having to go back to only having 9 people attend plus the instructor. Well, how it's really affecting her is the fact she gets paid by how many people are in her class. Mm-hmm. So she's taking, this whole year, her pay has just been going up and down. She just recently got married. They're trying to buy a house, and, she's not sure. Well, when I filled out the, mortgage application on this day, I was making this much, but well, apparently now I'm only going to be making this much. So it's really causing a lot of uncertainty on so many levels. And we need to just learn how to prioritize. What are the things that are most important?
Absolutely. We're with you on that. Getting the kids back, getting the education system, getting the businesses open. We're with you on that. On a slightly different subject, so Lee Carter, who is a delegate from Manassas, a Democrat, introduced a bill in the last session to defund the police. So we'd like to know, what are your thoughts on that and the defund police movement in general?
Well, interesting story. Uh, this week has been a blur. It has been an absolute blur because things have, I'm not running a campaign, I'm sprinting with a campaign. So last Saturday, I believe the Democrats had a open candidate forum so anybody could watch. And so I was watching because I was interested in hearing what they had to say. And one of the candidates said, in talking about defunding the police, well, if it makes the pill go down easier, we'll just say that we're reallocating funds.
Oh my goodness.
And I was floored, absolutely floored. And later on, they finally discovered that I was watching, and my campaign manager sent me a text, and he goes, "Oh, they see that you're on." I looked back at the screen in time for them to say, "You have been removed from this Zoom meeting by the host." So they kicked me out.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, fair enough. But you can't defund, you cannot reallocate, because all it does is affect community safety. Because what is happening, especially now in the midst of COVID, people are having to socially distance. So people are alone a lot more. So it is easier for crime to happen. People's patterns are changing, which also means that the police patterns are changing. They're being more focused on urban areas, which means the people that live in the more rural areas, it's going to be a longer response time. If you defund the police, you're going to be taking away critical, PPE devices, any type of equipment they may need, and also training. So you're going to have police officers with not as much training. And, God bless anybody that wants to join a police force nowadays. It's really going to affect recruitment. Why would you want to, join the police force, knowing that you're going to have, substandard equipment because you're not being, properly equipped with the resources that you need?
Right. Now, I guess in the course, I know you just started this, and like you say, you've sort of been drinking from a fire hose.
Oh, yes.
Are there other issues that you're hearing about, or that you encountered in your last campaign, that you think are sort of very critical that should be in front of second district voters when they go to the polls on January 5th? This election is January
5th. Transportation issues is always the number one priority. It was back when I ran the last time. It's still a contributing factor now. What's interesting over this past year, the Delegate Foy, who I plan to replace, and another delegate that covers Stafford, voted to transfer $800,000 worth of transportation funding from Stafford down to Hampton Roads. We just, I think it was last week, like I said, my days are blurring. Fox 5 did a news report on Brook Road with flooding. What happened is Brook Road, they did a $7.3 million transportation, road improvement project, but it did not address the issue or the part of the road that floods. And I'm talking about just a rain shower. I'm not talking torrential downpour. And what's happened is you've got 300 homes back there that they get, any amount of rainfall, the road floods, and they are literally trapped back there. Wow. So if we actually had a delegate that was concerned about that and kept an eye on it, and it also goes back to the issue with it is a rule or the language and the Virginia Department of Transportation between what is a maintenance issue and what is a safety issue. And that is something that I would like to address, because it's not about maintaining the road, it's about the safety of the road.
You know, I think that's an issue that might get you 300 votes in that neighborhood. It's like,
I remember, Delegate Hugo used to call himself Senator or Delegate Pothole because
pothole,
he
right,
handled
right,
those
Yeah.
kinds of
right.
issues. And,
So, Heather,
yeah.
we're getting towards the end, and we always ask our guests a little bit of the human interest side of, something about yourself personally. First, congratulations on your daughter recently getting married. That's a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
We heard a little bit about her, but anything personal you want to share with us?
Well, I was excited. We just found out that my son got a congressional nomination to the Merchant Marine Academy.
Oh,
So
Congratulations. Excellent.
we are very excited about that. We're looking forward to him graduating in June. I'm looking very much to June because my husband comes home. He's been in Guam for the last year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So he'll be home in June. We've lived in Virginia for 6 years, and he's been gone for actually about 3 of them. He did a tour in Liberia for a year. So that's the main reason as to why I want to run. My neighbors here in Stafford and in Prince William have been so warm, open. Hey, do you need help, cutting your grass? My neighbor saw me, I was trying to pressure wash my house, and he's like, no, let me do this. There's so many wonderful people in this area, and it's so frustrating when you see an entire half of a district totally being ignored, but then also the upper half is also being ignored. And to see your representative using that position as a stepping stone for something else and not really looking at what are the needs of my area, because I'm sure the needs of my area are probably similar to a lot of other communities throughout the state. And, if I can make the smallest of difference to make somebody's life a little bit better, I would be honored to be able to do that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, if somebody wanted to get involved with your campaign, I mean, it is a sprint, but that's
Yes.
the kind of campaign that needs bodies and bodies quick to help volunteer. How do they get folks get involved?
If you go to my website, it is Mitchell for VA. It's Mitchell for FORVA.com. I'm also on Facebook. It's Heather Mitchell for Virginia. I'm also on Twitter, which I was very excited about, which is at Mitchell for VA.
Wonderful. Wonderful. No, that's
we
great.
would love to have anybody come out. We had a wonderful group of volunteers out this past Saturday. We had a big group in Stafford, another big group up in Prince William, and it's just been amazing, the support that I've been getting. And I just cannot tell them thank you enough. It is very appreciated.
Right. We actually know somebody who was, I think, part of that walk up there in Prince William County yesterday.
Yeah,
so I hope that people will go look up your social media and find out how to get involved, because this, like you said, it's a sprint. You need to contact as many people on doors as possible. So if people can get out and knock for you, that would be great. If anybody who's listening to us in the audience there wants to help out this special election, same day as the Georgia special election. So,
yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. So wish you luck. I'm actually going down to Georgia with a group of women from the Virginia Federation on the last couple of days before there. So otherwise I'd be up helping you knock doors, but I'm going to be knocking doors outside Atlanta. So, but best of luck to you. And Mike, anything final there?
No. Anything else we haven't hit that you'd like to say before we close things out?
I tried to be the voice for the Second House District in 2019, and unfortunately I fell short, but I can be the voice for the Second House District. I want to be the voice and to give back and say thank you to my community.
Well, thank you. Thank you for stepping up to this again. Best of luck again.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate that. And it's so nice it's refreshing to hear a delegate who's really focused on her constituents.
Yes.
And that's just, you can't beat that. So that's great. And We really do appreciate you joining us for tonight's podcast. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
You bet. You bet. And if you want to hear all our podcasts, please visit our website, SUVGOP.com. Go to SUVGOP's podcast. You can hear all of our podcasts. We are starting early this year because of the special election, but we anticipate we'll have a very busy 2021, and we hope you will join us over the course of that year as we take a look at all the many elections and meet all the many candidates and others who are active in politics here in Virginia. So with that, thank you for joining us for this edition of Think Suburbia, and we look forward to you joining us for another one in the future. So thanks, everybody.